Hey, let's get some questions for Bill, and here he goes.
Yes, sir. Oh, what's the person in the back? Is that DVD for sale? Yes, actually, ma'am, it is. It's one for $15 and two for $20, and we'll be autographing one for $3. And thank you very much for asking. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Why in the world were 25 Navy SEALs all in one helicopter, and why in the world did I know that there were Navy SEALs on the helicopter that went down?
Yes, good question.
I really don't know how to answer that, other than to say that of all the things that happened in that terrible incident. Look, we need to be realists here. When we're in a war, we're fighting against real people. These aren't cardboard cutouts, they're real people. They're going to win some victories. There's never been a war ever fought where the enemy didn't win victories, ever. You have to understand that these things are going to happen. You have to accept it. They accept it. That's why they signed up and put themselves in harm's way. But the one thing I will say about this that I thought was inexcusable was simply this. I read a letter written by a father of a Navy SEAL who turned out survived. He said when that administration released the fact that 25 SEALs serving in Afghanistan, there's not but 60 or 70 of them over there anyway, that 25 of them were killed, every single family member in the country that has a relative in the SEALs just felt absolutely sick. You do not make that kind of an announcement until you notify the families. Look, those guys who committed that raid, laid that trap, they're gone. It took those guys 6 days to find them. They're dust now. They got them with the hellfire. Okay, I know what we're up against. Those people understand the risk. And one of the great slanders against the military, I think, is this idea that they all want to come home. That they just want to come home. They don't want to come home, they want to win. They want to win and then come home. So this idea we're going to bring them home before they come home, that's not what they want. It's not my opinion, and it's not your opinion. Ask those men who signed up for this kind of work what they want, and they'll tell you is they want to win. That's what they want to do. So it was a horrible loss, and it was a terrible day, and you have battles. You have the Battle of Midway, you sink 4 of their carriers, you lose 1 of yours. That's what war is. Next question. Yes, ma'am.
First of all, I want to tell you your work.
Thank you. Hey, how's it going?
Staunch conservative, graduated from college, stuck into his security brothers all the way through. He held his own, and he's here for you.
Oh, that's very kind. Thanks. Thank you.
I want to ask you, this week there was an editorial in the Wall Street Journal by Bret Stephens asking if Obama was stupid. And it was great fun because it just dumped on Obama. And it just, one by one, went through every idiotic move he was made, if in fact his intention had been to improve things in this country. But if you question his motivation, you can also look at it conversely and say, he's brilliant and he's destroying us the way he wants to. What's your take on it?
Well, as far as how smart he is, look, I just did 50 minutes on what I believe in personally without a teleprompter, right? And I don't mean for that to sound anything like as self-aggrandizing or as snotty or as condescending as it did. What I mean by that is simply this. I'm a professional speaker, that's what I do. But if I asked you to tell me what you believe in, you could do it. You could do it without a teleprompter. Anybody in this room, if I asked you what is your belief, what do you believe in, you could tell me without a teleprompter. Why does this guy need a teleprompter all the time? I don't know what he is. I know his background. I know about the people that raised him. I know about the people that were his mentors. And I think they're the worst people that I've ever heard of. Frank Marshall was a remarkably dark guy. And all of them. So when somebody says, is he an evil genius? Is he a pawn? Is he a narcissist? My best answer is yes. In the back, yes, sir. Pardon me? Yeah, well, I think we've been on to him since before he was elected. I think certainly the rest of the country is waking up. I saw an article in I don't know if it was the Times or not, but it was a leading liberal commentator saying, it's possible that we were blinded by this man's glamour and may not have paid enough attention to the fact that he hasn't done anything prior to becoming president, kind of always ran for the next job. But remember, they're the super geniuses and we're just the low-sloping foreheads. Yes, sir.
Was there not a Whittle that signed one of these first documents that established the nation?
I'm deeply embarrassed that you asked me that. Actually, it was me. I'm a 7,000-year-old immortal, and I just move from culture to culture and reappear when I'm needed. I actually don't know. I honestly had never heard such a thing. I do know that Frank Whittle invented the jet engine, and I'm a pilot, so I'm proud of that, although I'm not sure that we're actually closely related.
There was a Whittle back then.
Was it really? I'll look it up. I'll look it up. Yes, sir.
This question's too complex. How do we win a war against the largest religion?
You mean Islam?
Yeah.
How do we win a war against the largest religion in the world? Well, here's how I think you do it. In the Middle East, you have a country called Israel, which has, what, 5-6 million people, surrounded by 1 billion people. Israeli scientists are building tachyonic electron switches. They're building switches that work conceivably somehow faster than the speed of light. I'm not sure how that happens. The big Muslim invention is a buzzer that goes off when you put your head down, because that means you've fallen asleep during your prayers. Now look, let me say this. I want to be crystal clear about this. I want to be crystal clear about this. The most successful, tolerant, decent Muslims in the world live in America. I have met hundreds of wonderful, hardworking people, cab drivers in New York City, everywhere, who've come here, who want to live their lives, who want to succeed, and are perfectly happy to let everybody else do what they want to do. It's not really about a religion. Because you can certainly be an American Muslim and be absolutely as much a part of this country as anybody else. I do not want to be misunderstood about this for a second. So it's not about the religion, it's about the lifestyle, it's about the culture, because Islam tends to be a religion that controls every aspect of your life. Islam tells you what to wear, it tells you how to bathe, what to eat, where you can go, where you can't go. Islam as a religion is an interesting thing, because the two religions split off from Abraham, and Islam is the religion descended from the slave Ishmael, and Christianity and Judaism are descended from the other brother. And it's a remarkable thing to me, because Islam treats people like slaves. What I mean by that is this. Islam will put off the table temptation. It will assume that you cannot be tempted. It will not allow you to be tempted. No gambling, no alcohol, no adultery, no prostitution, none of that stuff. Here in America, there sits Las Vegas, where not only are these things available, they're encouraged and they cost a lot of money. Why is that? I think it's primarily because Judaism, and especially Christianity, depend on an internal judge, an internal sense of right and wrong. Society doesn't make those choices for you. It's up to you to make those choices. You can go to Las Vegas right now and drink and whore and do all the drugs you want to, or not. It treats you like adults. What it really does is it treats you like free people. Islam does not allow any of these things. I just think it's an interesting contrast. But I know categorically that the Muslims who come to America, the vast majority of them are good, solid Americans. And anytime I hear people bashing those people, I immediately come to their defense, because I've met them. With that said, I've talked to Department of Defense analysts who say that this idea that these people, these jihadis, have hijacked Islam, well, that's nonsense. That is what the Quran tells them to do. The Quran is actually written in a very interesting way. The surahs in the Quran are listed in order of length. I think it's the largest one first and the shortest one last, or maybe it's the other way around. But it's the longest. Imagine the longest book in the Bible is first, and then the next longest one. Then no chronological order whatsoever. But what these people, what these analysts realized about Islam was they have a concept called abrogation. And abrogation in Islam simply means that if one surah says one thing and another surah contradicts it, the surah that was written later abrogates the first one. So the later one takes precedent. Anytime there's a conflict, the one that was written later in time. And if you look at the Quran as it was written historically, as you get later and later and later into the Quran, as Muhammad made all of his conquests, he got more and more and more violent. More and more and more violent and bitter and angry and mean. He moved to Medina and then to Mecca and so on. So when you hear people saying, well, the Quran is all about love and peace, and they say, treat your neighbor kindly, and then you show other verses where it says, no, cut their heads off. The verses that say cut their heads off were written later. And according to Islamic scholars, this is not up for discussion. It's just the rule. So we are dealing with a very serious issue. Look, Islam has something. If Islam were to get into a mortal conflict with America, if they were to get their hands on nuclear weapons and detonate nuclear weapons in American cities, our war with Islam would be over in 48 hours. Be over in 48 hours. We are restrained by our decency and our willpower. We have the ability to completely glass the entire planet. No one's calling for that. I'm certainly not. But we have the ability. The people that we're fighting have all the intention, as soon as they get any ability, they deploy it. 9/11 was the best attack they had. If they'd had nuclear weapons, they would have used them. This is very different than the Soviets, by the way, because the Soviets had the same capabilities that we had. They were inhibited by their own personal inhibitions and decency. These people believe, Ahmadinejad believes, not only believes that it's okay to start a nuclear war with Israel, but it's required. It's required. It is inherent on him to start this, to bring the mystery 12th Imam or the 13th Imam out of the well and bring about the Messiah. It's a very, very dangerous deal. And the one final thing I'll say about this conflict of civilizations is this. You'll often hear from progressives and liberals this idea that we just need to negotiate with them and compromise and we need to talk to them. The whole thing's a big misunderstanding. You'll hear that all the time. It's a big misunderstanding. If only these jihadis, like Osama bin Laden, would come over, we'd sit in the hot tub, we'd have a Chardonnay or two, we'd talk it over hors d'oeuvres and cheese and everything would be copacetic. What they're really saying is, they're not real people, right? They're just acting in our image. Why are they fighting us? Well, because we went over there and we did this. It's our fault. So they're not real people. They don't have their own desires. They don't have their own history. They don't have their own needs and their own conquests. It's patronizing. We call it mirroring. We're putting onto Islam the same values that we hold. They think we're weak. They think we deserve to die. And furthermore, they think that we are asking for them to come and kill us. And if you look at a lot of the culture that's coming out of Hollywood, it's not hard to see how they get that idea. They think that we're weak, that we're begging to die, that we have a death wish, and they are going to walk in and take everything. Which is why, whatever you think about the Iraq War, pro or con, one thing you can say about the Iraq War was it killed 80,000 of their hardcore fighters who went to fight Americans in Iraq. And when you look at the cables, the intercepted messages coming from Zarqawi, the leader of al-Qaeda in Iraq, he's calling to Osama bin Laden and saying, all the reinforcements you have, get them over here now, because these guys in the green uniforms are not these liberals in Berkeley that we thought they were going to be. These are some hardcore sons of bitches who want to live. And they want to defend their society. We don't know what to do against guys like this. We thought they were all a bunch of mewling cowards. Well, they're not all a bunch of mewling cowards. And this is the mistake that every country makes when they mess with America. The Japanese made the exact same mistake. Fat, stupid, lazy, decadent, weak people who deserve extinction, and we'll just knock them around a little bit in Pearl Harbor, then we'll walk in and take everything. Not so fast. Not on my watch. Not on your watch. Thank you. Thanks. What is the activist group? Please tell me it's PETA. Oh, too bad. Animal activist group is trying to shut down I Heart Puppies. Is it a pet shop? Yeah. Yeah, and they're basically trying to say that because they're selling pets through a so-called puppy farm, that means that animals are sitting in shelters, so they will tell you what's right and wrong for you. That's their attitude. They'll tell you what's right and wrong for you, and you'll do what they say. Let me just tell you one thing about these people in this best example, I'm so sorry. Yeah. These people can never just leave what they don't like alone. If they don't like ATVs, not only do they not ride ATVs, they want to stop anybody from riding ATVs. If they don't like jet skis, not only do they not ride jet skis, they don't want you to ride jet skis either. Let me just say this about people like this, and PETA is a great example. PETA, the People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, talks about how wonderful they are, what big defenders of animals. I don't know how many actual pets they take in every year, but they have a shelter. You know what the kill rate is for a PETA shelter? The kill rate is? It's 98%.
What?
It is 98%. 98%. And you know what their justification is? Their justification is, well, we don't want to send these animals back out in the world to suffer, better just to euthanize them. That's their attitude towards everything. You look it up. Look it up. PETA, the founder of PETA, campaigned on this whole thing. She says, well, you know, these animals, they're suffering. Let's just put them out of their misery. Yeah. So there you go. I mean, there you go. It's the same kind of hypocrisy that would say to Al Gore, who may actually believe that the world is about to burn and melt. Let's say he's right. Let's say he's right. But if the world is really about to melt because of carbon emissions, and you believe that in your bones, would your electric bill be 30 times the average American? Would you do nothing but fly in private jets all over the place? If you really believe that, if you really in your bones believed it, wouldn't you want to make an example out of yourself? Wouldn't you live in a hut without electricity to show people that this is a serious, serious, serious problem? Wouldn't you walk or take a train everywhere? Wouldn't that be the best possible evidence that you're not kidding around? So why is this? Why does he have 30 times the electric bill of the average American? Why does he travel in private jets all the time? He can't believe it. He can't believe it. Yeah, he's an elitist. It's different for them. And yes, sir.
Exactly. So thanks for the.
It's good to see you again.
I wanted you to flesh out a little more the crashing into that iceberg. You saw yesterday's paper, and at the late time, Michael O'Neill, military analyst at Brookings Institution, moderate center left, he was super optimistic. You could have been a co-author on that thing. Then you go over to the Wall Street Journal and you read the under editor, one of the great conservative pro-American exceptionalists, and he's saying this was the turning point. The debt downgrade, watch out, get these people out of office. You see the other way around. Now you've got conservatives saying, oh my gosh, you know, and how it's up for shape. So I'm just throwing that back to you. I'm a exceptionalist. I'm optimistic, but I see my optimism shaking a little bit this last one.
I think that the downgrade was really good for the country. Because you don't, look, you go to any 12-step program in the world, what's the first step? You got to recognize you have a problem, right? You got to recognize you have a problem. They have been borrowing money for 40 years now, and there have been no consequences. There's been no pain. There's been no pain. You can give away all the candy you want to, and until people start dying of diabetes, no one's going to stop eating the candy. The downgrade is the smallest piece of actual real-world evidence to penetrate this sense of denial that goes on in Washington. And it will go down again. I'm not saying it automatically will go down again, but if they keep doing what they're doing, it will go down again. It is the first dose of reality. Am I ashamed of the downgrade? I have mixed feelings about the downgrade. Am I proud of the fact that America's had a AAA rating since there's been a AAA rating? Very much so. So to some degree, I'm ashamed, and I'm concerned about this fall from where we used to be, but on a much deeper level, I'm gratified that somebody had the guts to say, you cannot continue doing what you're doing without consequences. You can't. We are one, thank you. Put aside the unfunded liabilities. Right now we owe $15,000 billion. That's what we owe. And we've gotten into this position from Republicans and Democrats both. It's not been one party. George Bush was running $400 billion deficits. It seems quaint now. When Barack Obama says that we have to raise the debt limit in order to pay our bills, I almost just stopped my car. It's like, if you have to raise the debt limit, that is an absolute admission that you can't pay your bills. The very idea of being in debt, the definition of debt, is the inability to pay what you owe. And by the way, a debt ceiling that's raised 100 times, Republicans and Democrats, what kind of ceiling is that? It's not a ceiling. It's not a limit. A speed limit where it says 55 miles an hour, but if you want to do 57, well, that's okay. You want to do 61, no, we don't mind. You want to do 63, I don't care. 82, I don't care. No. There's no consequences. It's not a limit. It's a joke. It's a fig leaf. It's a fig leaf. That's what it is. So, look, the debt ceiling has been raised. They got their deal. They want to say that we lowered the rating because we are able to borrow more money. No. Everybody knows what happened. You can't be $15 trillion in debt and have the same rating you had when you were $0 in debt. It just doesn't make any sense, and everybody knows it. Even they know it. So I think the one thing I will say about the whole debt thing is, last time they tried to raise the debt ceiling 7, 8 months ago, there was a bit of a fuss. This time, it blew the dome off of the Congress, off of the Capitol building. Next time, it's going to be even more fuss. For the first time ever, people all across the spectrum are aware of it. I don't even think any big progressives believe anymore that they can just keep spending this money forever. I think they're at the place now where it's like, well, how much longer can we get away with it? It's not like we can get away with it forever. How much longer can we get away with it? So be of good cheer and expect turmoil. Expect it. Expect turmoil, expect chaos, expect anger, expect resentment, rage, all of these things. Expect to see some of the things that we see in London. Expect it. Because there's one thing I can tell you, and that is this. Those people, those progressives, depend upon your despair. They depend upon your despair. They depend upon you thinking you're the only person who believes what you believe. They depend upon you thinking that you're a dinosaur, that it's all over, that it's all history, there's no way to go back, it's a ratchet, it's irretrievable. Nonsense. Nonsense. We have repealed constitutional amendments in this country. The highest legal bar in America has been removed by repealing the constitutional amendment that prohibited alcohol. If we can repeal a constitutional amendment, we can do anything. It's just votes. It's just votes, which is why I come talk to you people. You want to save the country? You don't have to go up Mount Suribachi. People have already done that. You don't have to patrol the streets of Baghdad. People have done that. They deserve to come home to a free country. You have to go out and get 5 people who would not have voted otherwise on that 1st November in 2012, and all will be well. It's just that easy. It's just that easy. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I think you're an amazing, you're even more amazing in person. And I think any of you who have any friends in Beverly Hills or in LA should go to the Beverly Hills Tea Party and hear Bill. He's speaking at our party on September 18th.
I got about 10 minutes out there, though, but I'll make them count.
No, we're going to give you more time.
Oh, thank you.
We're going to give you more time. We're right there. We're at the belly of the beast, okay? And we're right there on Santa Monica Boulevard. And can you imagine the reception this man's going to get? It's going to be awesome.
We'll get a few pies thrown at me, but I like pie. Let me just say one thing here. Thank you. Let me just say one thing about local politics. The Democratic Party cannot ever win the presidency without California. They count on it. It's in the bag for them. They cannot win without California. Everybody knows it. It's a quarter. It's almost a quarter of the total electoral votes. So, they can't win without California. They can't win California without LA County. Orange County is safe. God bless you people. But here's what we have to do in LA County. I think it might be possible to win in LA County, but if we can't win in LA County, we have to make them pay for LA County. We have to make them pay everywhere. If we are dealing with a force that is very strong in a local area, we can't run up against their front line and beat them tank to tank because we don't have as many tanks as we do. We got to get in their rear areas and blow up the ammo dump. We got to knock over this crane. We got to intercept that bridge. We got to pull down these tracks. We got to do all these things. We got to make them pay for things that they assume was safe. We got to make them put resources into areas they didn't have to put resources into before. Make them work for it. If you can't beat them, make them work for it, because every dollar they spend trying to hold LA County is a dollar they don't get to spend somewhere else. They've understood this from the beginning. Victory's a ratchet. You take every single little victory you can, just notch it up just a little bit, which is why I say to all of you, this is the last thing I'll probably say tonight, last thing I'll say to you tonight about the Republican primaries coming up. The whole purpose of the primary is for you to, I'll take you 1 second. The whole purpose of a primary is for you to decide who you like as a candidate, as a Republican candidate. Put out the lawn signs and write the checks directly to that person, get out there and donate, work for them, do everything you can. But understand that it is a legal and fair process. It's a democratic process. And what I'm trying to tell you is we cannot do what we did in 2008. When the primary process is over, if you don't like the Republican candidate, you need to get out there and campaign for that guy. If it's a mop, you got to vote for the mop over Barack Obama. We can't take another 4 years of this guy. We just can't do it. Last one, I think. Yes, ma'am.
On that note, I was wondering your thoughts on Rick Perry. I've heard lots of things, lots of good, and then I also heard he used to be a Democrat, and I think he can't change mine.
I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you something that I never thought I'd admit with a microphone in my hand. The first vote I ever cast was for Walter Mondale, and I voted for him because he said he was going to raise taxes. Why wouldn't I? I was 20 years old, I didn't know anything, and I didn't pay taxes. What skin is it off of my nose to raise taxes? I was going to get benefits. I've spent the rest of my life trying to atone for that. I thought horrible things about Ronald Reagan, and I've been to many events out in the Reagan Library, and I stand out there, I try to go out there when there's nobody else there, and I stand at that little crypt by myself and apologize. I apologize for being so wrong about him, for being so wrong, for considering him an idiot, you know, talking about how stupid he is. He's just a dumb old man. He's an old senile actor. Ronald Reagan, before he ran for president, it may have been even before he ran for governor, went around the country kind of doing what I'm doing, a lot better than I'm doing it, but he went around and did these tours for General Electric, and he learned his philosophy, started honing these ideas, started thinking about it and defending it. That's why he was so good at defending his ideas. He'd had years of practice all alone, little itty bitty little places in Iowa and Kansas. So Ronald Reagan used to be a Democrat. Ronald Reagan said, I didn't leave the Democratic Party left me. So I'm more concerned with what Rick Perry does now. I think that this election is going to be about jobs. I think that's really going to be the issue come 2012, assuming there's any jobs left and people remember what the word means. But Governor Perry will be able to say that half of the jobs in America in the last 2 years were created in my state and the other half were created in the other 49 states. That is a powerful argument. Powerful argument. And even though he said he's not going to run, if Rick Perry were to team up with Marco Rubio, we'd win every state. We'd win every state. I don't think they'd carry D.C. But I don't know what Rubio's going to do. I don't know who the VP is. I think Perry has the best chance to beat Barack Obama because Perry looks like the president, and Perry strikes me as the kind of man who's not afraid to go after Barack Obama's character. I had a question last night. I did a similar speech, and somebody asked me about the birth certificate, and I think the birth certificate is a complete red herring. I think whether you believe in it or not, whether you believe it being fake or not, it's much less important. You can't go to his credibility or because he's already president. You can't go to his, what's the word I'm looking for, eligibility, because he's already president. It's a moot point. But you look at the man's background and you look at his character. You've got to attack his character. He deserves to have his character attacked. No one's ever attacked his character. Whoever that Republican nominee is has to go at that man personally. Because one of the most interesting statistics, it's coming apart for him now, but one of the most interesting statistics is something like 70% of the American public disapprove of Obama's policies, but 70% of the American public kind of like him personally. It's because they don't know anything about him. That's because he's got the news media as a shield. If you attack Barack Obama personally and you get that big smile out of there and you get that kind of mean-spirited, nasty reaction that you see often when he's being challenged, that 70% support for the man will evaporate like the morning dew. And then you're just left with his record. If you're left with his record, we're going to win 50 states. One more, sorry. Yes, sir, and then we got to go.
Nowhere on this questionnaire asks 3 top issues. Is there anything about gun rights or Second Amendment? My question is, what can each American family here tonight do to pass on this great legacy we have, so that we have a people that is again trained to bearing arms and not relying on the GOP or the NRA? So what can families do? And also, I just want to make a comment about Rubio. He's not a natural-born citizen.
Is he not? He wasn't born in the United States?
He had both parents that he did not have 2 U.S. citizens. His parents were not citizens.
Yeah, he's a native-born citizen, but he's not a natural-born citizen.
He's a native U.S. citizen.
And he's not a naturalized citizen. The distinction he's making is that there's actually supposedly a 3-way distinction. There are naturalized citizens like Arnold Schwarzenegger, who was not born here, who is a naturalized American citizen, ineligible for the presidency. There are people that were born in America but do not have 2 American presidents. That is called a native-born citizen, and according to the Constitution, that person is not eligible for the presidency either, which means that Barack Obama is not eligible because of the native-born quality, not because he might have been. Let's say he was born in Hawaii. His father was a foreign national. Nobody disputes that. So according to that strict definition, he's ineligible for that degree. It's an interesting example I came up with for myself here. If you run the 2008 election again, and you run John McCain, Barack Obama, Arnold Schwarzenegger, what's his name? Luis Farrakhan and Bill Whittle. You're going to run these 5 guys for president in 2008. Who's eligible? Barack Obama's not eligible according to the natural-born definition because even though he was born in America, he's a naturalized citizen, he's a native-born citizen. In fact, his website says native-born, not natural-born. Constitution says natural-born. But foreign parent, so according to the strict definition that the founders had, ineligible. John McCain, ineligible, not born in the continental United States, born in the Panama Canal Zone. Arnold Schwarzenegger's not eligible because neither his parents were citizens, plus he wasn't born in America. He was a naturalized citizen. He's as much American citizen as you or I are, but he's ineligible for the presidency. Bill Whittle is not eligible for the presidency because my mom is a British subject. According to that same definition, the founders did not want me unduly influenced towards Great Britain by having a British parent. That was the entire idea. So the only person who's eligible to be president is Luis Farrakhan. He's the only person legally eligible to be president out of the 5 of us because he is born in America to 2 American presidents. As far as the Constitution is concerned, he's rock solid. But with that said, your question about the guns, the best thing you can do to get people interested in guns is to take people shooting. You hear time and time again, I live in Hollywood and have a lot of movie star friends, and a lot of them tend to be pretty liberal. And a lot of times they'll go out on a shooting range for the first time in their lives as adults to prepare for their role as a Secret Service agent, let's say, or a CIA agent. Guys like Matt Damon who make a living playing soldiers with guns. Does nothing but contemn soldiers with guns. But you take somebody out shooting and they go, oh my God, this is awesome. This is unbelievable. This is really, really awesome. So I think getting people out on the range is really important. And you know, here's the thing I don't understand. This should be an easy sell, certainly to young men. You went on a shooting range, there's loud noises, things go boom, things disappear. It's freaking amazing. It's like trying to sell a Camaro versus a Trabant. I mean, this thing is a kick-ass adventure. It's a day. And you get out there, and you run into the same thing when you take people flying, too, because I'm a pilot as well. I'm an armed pilot, and I'm going to arm my airplane if things get really bad. I'm going to patrol the skies. But what you find in both of those cases, what you find in terms of when you hang out with shooters and pilots, what you find is that you are immediately overwhelmed by the sense of safety and responsibility. That hits you the second you walk onto any shooting range or in any airport. People who've never done it before are stunned. You take this really seriously, don't you? Yeah, we do, because if we don't take it seriously, we're going to get killed. Absolutely seriously. So when people see that this is not a game, a bunch of rednecks running around firing in the air, woo! No, it's not like that at all. It's nothing like that. So take people shooting when you can, take them out for the day, and the best thing you can do is purchase some weapons and keep them at home, because it's kind of, that's the whole deterrent effect, isn't it? It's not important whether you have a gun in your house or not. What's important is, does the criminal know that you don't have a gun in your house or not? Because if you live in a neighborhood where the chances are good, they're not going to mess with you. You look at, my dad grew up in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania. He retired in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania. It's, I don't know, 20 miles away from downtown Philadelphia. There are more guns per household in Valley Forge by a wide margin than there are guns per household in downtown Philadelphia, but Philadelphia has hundreds, thousands of times the crime rate. Nobody gets murdered in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania. 1 every 7 years or something. Why? There's more guns there. It's not the guns. It's the heart. It's the people. Right? So you got to make that case. But deterrence is remarkable. The thing about deterrence is if you have to use your deterrence has failed. Right? Don't let them know. Nobody breaks into houses in Valley Forge, because every house in Valley Forge has 5 hunting rifles, 14 handguns, bows and arrows, knives, sharp sticks, everything. We got bottles. We're ready. We're ready to go. So nobody messes with those people. Anyway, I don't want to keep anybody later. I'll be signing DVDs over here. Thank you very much for having me. It's been a real pleasure.